Hey everybody, welcome back to the Spin Rack. I'm here with my boys PD and Kyle. Say what's up, gents.
What's going on?
Hey, ready to rock.
Hey, today we're going to be talking about how to deal with eBay sellers who misrepresent comic conditions. Of course, we have our resident expert here, Kyle himself. Kyle, can you give us a breakdown on this, my brother?
Okay, well, this video's from Jerry the Jitterbug. I've actually met Jerry before, really nice guy. So we're taking some time out to react to one of his videos on dealing with eBay sellers. Now, all full disclosure, I sell on eBay myself, so I've been in situations like this, and I want to see what Jerry has to say in terms of dealing with someone like me, if there is a kerfuffle, if you will.
So, what do you want to see a specific thing, Kyle?
What I thought we would queue it up. Why don't you let it play a bit, and we can hear what Jerry has to
How
say.
to build the ultimate comic collection on a budget. Featured in that upload was Captain Marvel Avengers number 22. Now, this is the first voice appearance of Mr. Mime. I was very happy to pick this up for $88. It's a key book because of this piece that was ripped from the cover but still attached. So,
All right, pause it here.
I affected the book further when this.
Okay, so just for the layman, Captain Marvel 22 with that tear, I would put that at about maybe like a 2.0. At the end of the day, but it's still a key book. You could easily get more money for it. This is probably a book that was on an auction, and it wasn't a set price. There are guys out there who can take that rip and they'll restore it so the book looks great at the end of the day, and they might just sell it up to someone else. Just so you know. So anybody who's wondering, yes, this is a key book. That was a very good price for it, even with the rip.
$88.
Yeah, $88. That's a very good price for it, even with the rip.
And if they restored it, how much would something like that go for them?
I mean, it depends on how good the rest. It depends on how good the restoration is. But a graded copy restored, a restored graded copy. Let's say he restored it and maybe it got about a six. I mean, you could ask $300-$400 for it.
Oh, interesting.
So wait a second. If that's the case, how much you get for it as is you think you could get for it?
In this condition,
Yeah.
my store would be a little bit different, but I probably wouldn't have sold it for less than 200, 250.
Oh, thank you.
So, playing again.
Sold this book, he advertised it as being restoration free. When I further inspected it after shooting the upload of how to build the ultimate comic collection, what did I discover? A tear seal right here with glue. There's some form of glue sealing this rip from the spine.
All right, let's pause here.
And I can feel.
Okay, if you're an eBay seller, you have to be very, very specific in terms of your description if you want to avoid stuff like this. So I'm going to give the guy the benefit of the doubt. And when he said restoration free, he honestly thought it was restoration free, that he may not have seen the glue or was an oversight on his part. But if you put that in your ad, you've got to stand by it. And that does leave you at the mercy of the buyer. It does leave because a lot of buyers will just, it's restore, they're going to go straight through eBay, force a return. You got to do the wholesale. You got to do the wholesale over. So whatever you're going to put in your ad, you've got to be very, very careful as to that. That's why most guys are very, very general when it comes to comics. They don't want to give grades or anything of that nature because if it turns out that they did miss something, you're at the mercy of the buyer.
Got it.
And this tear is sealed by the use of glue. So we know that glue is what? Glue is restoration. Let's see if we can get a quick look on the inside, and hopefully the camera's picking it up. And right here is the glue as well. So this is a restored book, and it is not a book that was true to the advertised condition.
Can you pause it for a second?
The purpose of this upload is how
Can you
to
pause it for a second? I want to say, yo, good deal. Good. You tried it. You tried it. I got to give you respect for trying it. I don't know. Cal's probably right that it wasn't him that did it, but the person before him, I got to give it to you. I would have never caught that. So let's keep going.
One other thing, there's a difference between restoration and preservation. Okay, so some books it's got extra staples in it, but the extra staples were things that were done, and this was common in that particular time period, primarily the Golden Age period, where this would have kept the book from unfolding or the binding from unfolding. And there was also who was this? Stan Lee did a Stan Lee soapbox, and Dan Rosa as well. where they told kids, hey, if you want to make certain that the centerfold doesn't come out, get magic tape and tape it over the staples, and that way you can read it as much as you want, and you don't have to worry about the staples coming out. But that was a preservative act. So a lot of times, a guy will see that, and, oh, that's restoration. No, that's not always restoration. It's restoration if some damage happened and now you're trying to correct it, restore it. Preservation was to prevent it from happening, and that was, and depending on the time period, very very common up through the Bronze Age, up through the Bronze Age.
Interesting. It's a Fawcett publication, 10 cents to comics, largest circulation of any comic magazine. Always cool to see that, you know.
With eBay sellers when you receive a book and the book is not as advertised as this book with restoration. Now, the first thing you have to do is document it. So as you can see right now, I took 2 pictures of the area in question with the tear seals with glue. Next, I contacted the seller with a message, and here it is right where you can see it, explaining that the book had restoration. Open the lines of communication, get your evidence to support what you're saying to the seller, and hopefully, if they are a reputable seller, they will adjust, give you an option to return the book or some other equitable solution to the problem. So lucky for me, the seller of this book offered me a 50% discount. He said that it was not intentional, it was an oversight, and he gave me back a credit of a little over $42. So I received.
Oh, okay. Let's stop here. Let's stop here.
Okay, who wants to go?
You
Cal?
go. I was going to Commander. What do you say to that, Cal?
Okay. Yes to the documentation, because I'm not giving you a refund based on your word. Unfortunately, there are guys that, I mean, some guy just tried to bilk me out of money the other day for shipping, saying that the envelope was damaged. I'm like, well, what about the box inside of the envelope? Oh, there was no box. It was just 2 pieces of cardboard. I was like, I don't know who you bought your last book from, but that wasn't me. All my stuff goes out in the box. So yeah, you have to show me. It's good that you document, show it, so you're not trying to fleece somebody. And I also like the approach of dealing with the seller as opposed to just strictly going through eBay. No, try to work things out with the seller. If it doesn't, you can always go through eBay, but you may actually get a night. You might find that the seller did have an oversight, or rather did make an oversight, and you can work things out. In a mutually beneficial factor. However, this guy gave a 50% refund. Oh my! I was like, that's. I mean, for the buyer, that's pretty good. On the part of the seller, I'm really curious as to why it was that high. And yeah, I wouldn't expect that to be a commonality, maybe like 10% or in a refund of your shipping. Or to be honest, in my case, I would have been like, hey, send the book back and I'll sell it over again, because I know I got enough bids on it the last time, so I could probably sell it again. And I could see that if it goes by auction and I got $88 for it, I'll probably do better on it. So, but I like to play hardball a bit more. But yeah, 50. I mean, yeah, I can't do a 50% refund. Some of the books I sell are $2,000. I'm not giving back $2,500 because of an oversight.
Okay.
So what would be good then? 25%?
Oh, that's high. 10.
And okay, then just ask.
10 on it.
No.
Yeah, on a. I mean, because it really does. Well, one, I've seen this video, so I know that this book is probably going to end up being restored anyway. So, that would be something that would actually go through my mind. But 50%, and comic books are already discounted on such a high level. That's just part of the game. I mean, 50% at the end of the day is just and this is still a key book. I could understand if it was just a Golden Age book and it did very well on this particular auction, but Captain Marvel Adventures 22 is a key issue, and it doesn't come up every day. That's one of the reasons why you'll have a large amount of bids on a book like this, even in this particular condition, as opposed to another book in the same condition, and you'd be lucky if you get $1 for it. So that has to factor in. That is a high. I mean, it's great for the buyer. It's great for the buyer, but that's a very high percentage refund. 50%. That's a very high percentage refund.
But I mean, what about will you also offer the buyer shipping costs at least?
You mean refund his shipping?
Yeah.
If the book arrived damaged and I didn't insure it, yeah, I'll refund his shipping. I mean, it really. I mean, to be honest, in my case, I would probably just take the book back. because I would just say, okay, my fault, oversight. Here's all of your money back, but I'm just going to sell it again, and I'll have an understanding that I could probably get more for it. In terms of a refund, I'd probably cap it at about 20%. That's where I would be in terms of the overall thing. But this buyer may have had the book and he may have got it for $1. So he's like, hey, I'm fine. I still made 40 some odd, bucks on it. I don't want negative feedback. I want to just make this guy happy. So, those are things to consider. But everything else, yeah, document it, reach out to the seller. I mean, in this case, reaching out to the seller proved to be very, very beneficial for the buyer. So, reach out to the seller, see what you can work out.
PD,
What?
you got anything to say?
Oh, I asked a question. I was only going to say commend. I was going to do a clap thing of commending them for giving 50%. I can see where Cal goes 10, giving 10% back. It was just cool to see. So I don't have a thing in the game. I don't know when having something like that's this rare. How do you deal with it and spend. That's why I asked the question. But as far as that, I don't have a vantage point of what it would be. So I just wanted to commend the seller for the 50%, but at the same time, maybe 25% would be more realistic, but at the same time, and good to hear where Cal was at in his range. So.
One other thing I'll add, I collect Captain Marvels, so I'm familiar with the important books. And I mean, Captain Marvel has three major villains. Okay, it's Thaddeus Savannah, Black Adam, Mr. Mind. Those are his three major villains. And so this is the first appearance of the voice. And all Mr. Mind has is that radio around his neck. He's a worm with his radio around his neck. And so that voice, okay, is very, emblematic of the character. So if you're a collector, Captain Marvel Adventures, I know how important this book is going to be at the end of the day for one of his three major villains. So, you know, that also factors into it as well. But again, this again shows how beneficial it can be to work things out with the buyer. Okay, and again, it's I don't want to say it's a reputable thing because certain buyers will look at it and say, well, I'm not too sure, and it doesn't always have to work out for you for the buyer to be great either. I want to also keep that in mind. It has to be mutual. I'm definitely more when it comes along to that because of course if you get back something and it's a great refund, yeah, everything is great, no problem, but it's got to work out for the guy who's selling as well. He's not doing this for his health. He's also trying to make money at the end of the day, and that's me coming from a selling perspective.
So what if the buyer says, "Hold on, I don't want to, I don't want to give back the comic, but I want to, get some type of satisfaction, and 20% is too little."
Give me it. Well, you don't have to have 20%. You can get 100% and give me back the book.
But doesn't want to give back the book.
Well, you can't have. See, that's where it has to work out. It can't be all right. I can give you a 20% refund. I don't want 20%. I want 50%. Well, I'm not willing to do that. But if the money's important, I'll give you back all the money. Give you back the book. No, I want the book and I want this. That's not mutual. That's I want what I want. So that's not going to work. That's not going to work out. And if you go through eBay, eBay is going to say, hey, just send them back the book and get your money back. So that's how that'll work. That's how that'll work out at the end of things. It has to be mutual.
Got it. Okay, let's put it back on.
Okay, for about $44 plus shipping. Now we'll work on this area with the glue at a later date. Perhaps this is something that is water soluble. I'll be able to remove it, and we'll do a full conservation on this book because I think I want to put this piece back with Tengojo before we get it graded. Because if we're going to be doing the work to try to remove the glue, we should also seal this with Tengojo and make it nice and buttoned up so it won't get damaged in the future.
What did he say? Tengojo?
Mm-hmm.
What is that?
It's a type of sealant for these small tears, and it works better than like what he said. That glue that you're seeing over there is like a cheap, unprofessional way of restoring this book. And I mean, to go back, restoration was something that was very common, I think, through the 1990s, where guys would do color touch, they would seal tears, and they would make this book look almost like it was brand new. The books look really, really nice, and it was considered like artwork. Guys were really good at it. Then came CGC, and once you graded a book, and these guys thought restored, and they got that ugly label at the top. They're like, ah, and so that pretty much killed the whole thing. And they're like, no, I don't want any restoration. But this used to be standard thing where you would come over and see like a sticker on a book, and you had to know how to remove that, or there might be some writing, and you knew how to remove that, or how to do these type of seals. So this was common. This was commonplace. You could take a book that looks just like this, and then with the press, a clean, and some restoration, it looked really good. And a collector would love to have it with the restoration. But like, this looks beautiful. I don't have a problem with it.
Got it. Okay. Going back on.
So the key thing, guys, communicate with sellers. Do it quickly. And that's why you can't be like me sometimes, having a stack of books that sit for months without opening it. You have to open it quick, go over each and every page, really inspect the book. And if there is something that was not disclosed, if the dealer says no restoration, and in fact there's restoration, you have to address it immediately, and hopefully the seller will remedy the situation. So just a quick little example of how I deal with this, and luckily for me, it turned out well. Short upload.
Yeah, take a pause here.
Stay tuned.
Well, that's that right there. Yeah, and God bless America. Yeah, so yeah, timing is also a factor because after a certain amount of time, I don't have to do any sort of return refunds. You have to get it done within a certain amount of time. I'll share a quick story where I won't say the name of the buyer, but I bought some books. They were pre-orders, from a seller off eBay. This about 6 weeks passed. I reached out to them and said, "Hey, haven't received the books. What's going on?" Oh, we got two of them in, but one of them was damaged. We're waiting. These guys dragged this thing out for months. And so I said, and then I was outside of the window of a return or a refund from eBay. eBay gives you about 3 months, and this dragged on with my help. This dragged on for months, but they kept telling me they were going to get me the books. And then at the very end, it was like, well, we can't get you all the books, just two, but please go through our store and you can take any books that aren't pre-orders. And, I did that. And after I did that, oh, we don't have any of the books. Please go to our store and take any books that aren't pre-orders. And I just said, no, just give me back my money. Oh, we can't give you back the money because the window's shut with eBay and we won't have any protection if we refund your money. I'm like, what are you talking about? So I was able to get my money back because while eBay's return window shuts at 3 months, the payment system that I use shuts at 6 months. So I was able to get my money that way. But yeah, time is of the essence. If you're unhappy with what you bought, reach out to the seller. Reach out. Yeah, expect your book when you get it in. Look it over. You're not happy with it, reach out. And the best thing about the video is, yeah, deal with the seller. Not everybody's going to give you the same refund. Don't go into it thinking you should get the same refund from everyone. And yes, some guys will be like me. They're going to play hardball because that's just where they are in terms of how they sell. Their profit margin needs to be a certain place, and they may offer you a full refund if you return the book. That might be amenable. They may offer you a partial refund. That may not be amenable if it's not big enough. But don't go in with the expectation that you should get something, and you might be pleasantly surprised as to what you get.
Well, let's actually. You need to be honest. You actually bought a Kickstarter, and that was Brigade, wasn't it? You're still waiting on your Brigade books, aren't you, from Rob Liefeld?
Oh,
Mars, you didn't think to bring it to Rob Liefeld, didn't you? Didn't you? Look at got me
Mars.
cracking some.
Well, we're not discussing Liefeld now. Okay, so that's a whole nother issue, another show. All right. So hey, Cal, that was great information. Thank you for bringing that up. P, any closing words?
No, it's interesting. It's interesting. I know it has been a while since I bought a fairly rare book, so it's interesting seeing. Sometimes you buy it and you think, oh, the price is killer for this, and you open it up, it's like, oh, okay, I see why. But then it's like, okay, but it's comparable what the condition was. But when you first saw it, you were like, oh, wow, that's a great price. And then it's like, okay, this is not a resale. This is going to be what I initially wanted for, but it is comparable to what it looks like. So it's interesting to see this, especially for a key book from the past. And I mean, it's not, looking at it, it's interesting to see that you had people like Kirby and Joe Schuster, and even maybe sort of Wayne Boring. Probably this is probably before Wayne Boring, but at the same time having a CC Beck who's doing, characters that are built as the characters we see now that we would see in the Arnold type of books, which people are kind of like, oh, how can you do this? But it's interesting seeing kept this early in the series him being this kind of beefed up type of character, all muscles, where they're kind of people. Well, comic historians kind of act like the muscles came with Arnold, where you had artists that did like characters with guys that were pretty huge. I guess you say close to George. Was it? Who? Steve Reeves. Steve Reeves who did the what's the name? Hercules. So yeah, that's my final thoughts.
Thank you very much. Hey, if you like what you heard, give us a thumbs up, comment, subscribe. I want to give a shout out to Jerry the Jitterbug. If you're interested in this stuff, please look at this stuff.
Jerry the Jitterbug.
Yes, Jerry the Jitterbug, who has a very nice series on. This is part of his series of assembling a collection
On a budget.
yeah, on a budget. I didn't want to misquote, on a budget. So yeah, definitely check out that series if you're someone in that where you want to get these bigger books. And I don't think it's very hard to do, but it does require It does require a certain amount of patience. But there's a lot of times you can pick up some really nice books for a lot cheaper than you would imagine. Well, depends on how much of a stickler you are for condition. But if you're also, very good in terms of, you know, doing some nice restoration or know somebody who is, you can build a very nice collection that way. Or of course, there's the other route of just pay more money for the books outright. But this one over here, I've gone through the series, very good, a lot of very good advice. I wanted to focus on this one because it's somebody who sells. This is the approach. This is definitely the approach most sellers would like to see. At the very least, give me the first option to try to work this out. If I can't, okay, at least we tried. But and again, most times buyers tend to be very surprised that sellers are amenable to working something out as long as it's mutual. It can't be my way or the highway. And don't be surprised if you get a seller who plays hardball and is willing to call your bluff. So don't go in with an expectation of something. Go in really trying to work out something reasonable for the two of you.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much for that, James. Again, if you like what you see, comment, subscribe, thumbs up, spin a rack.
We're out.
Out.